Welcome back to Jolie's, where you can get yourself some spicy sausage, roasted nuts, and the freshest React content on YouTube. Today, we are going to be getting into Why Anime Adaptations Always Suck by Gabi, Belle. Before we get into that, please like and subscribe to this video, to this channel. I really want to see how quickly we can grow this community and have some friends to talk to. This is my way of recruiting friends in my 30s. This is what you do in your 30s now to get new friends. You start a YouTube channel. You start talking to people in comment sections. And I want you there. So please take advantage. I'm looking for a name for our community. I'm thinking of calling us the Fence Sitters. So become a fence sitter by subscribing below. Second, I do have a card game that I have created with my good friend and fellow co-host of the F Tier podcast. It's called X Seekres of Fortune. You can find out more about it below in the description. Finally, I love React content. It's one of my favorite ways to rewatch videos that I've already enjoyed. And I would implore you, please do that. If you haven't seen Gabi's original video for yourself yet without me, I believe that React videos are a great way of rewatching content, of re-engaging with it as a rerun. You get to watch somebody's fresh take on it while doing chores or what have you when you're not as engaged. And with that, let's get into the video. In 3, 2, 1, boop.
When I was a kid, I always wished Pokemon was real. To the point where I
You and me both, sister. That and many other shows.
somehow had a lucid dream that Beautifly was hovering over my bed in the middle of the night, and I woke up and I got scared and ran to my parents' room. Now, do you know what happened there?
You willed it into existence with your imagination by dwelling upon it, and that beautifully burrowing its way into your subconscious.
Karma. For wishing Pokemon was real. Because in actuality, Pokemon would look terrifying. You don't want to see.
I mean, the Pokemon movie did Detective Pikachu did a pretty good job of making the Pokemon not terrifying. I mean, Mr. Mime maybe being the exception, but I felt like they did a great job of playing with the fact that he's a little unnerving.
Mr. Mime's eyeball veins. Why was that necessary, first of all?
Okay,
or Lickitungue's flesh and saliva.
Please don't.
You know what? I liked this version better. It feels like
Yeah, because it's cute. Like, yeah, that's the thing. Animation gets to divorce itself from reality, and that is very important to the things that it's allowed to do. There's a reason there's things that we expect from animated TV shows and movies more than live action or over live action. And like when live action goes for animated type things, it could be very easy to be cheesy. And I think that's what we're going to be getting into on this video.
making everything live action is like the natural next step for an animated property. And they continuously
I mean, One Piece did a pretty good job. It's almost the exception to the rule, though.
prove again and again, whoever the suits at the time, I don't know who, they think cartoons are nothing to take seriously. Plus, I like money. So, live action it.
Oh, well, definitely not for somebody who likes money. Who played Faye in that, by the way? I mean, I mean, they all got something going on for sure. That's a very sexy cast. It's unfortunate that they kind of screwed the pooch on actually delivering the goods. But it does look like Faye has had to reference Fleekazoid, a few budget cuts possibly in her, in the live adaptation. But then again, I mean, how many actresses in the world has Faye's budget?
It is. Obviously, I'm probably preaching to the choir here. Things don't have to be live action to be creatively different or explore a new medium. That's not the only option out there. Pokemon Concierge, made entirely out of stop motion, looks so cool. This animator made Pokemon look really cool, with using that semi-realistic look that didn't make the Pokemon look disgusting and
I mean, it worked for Detective Pikachu. I did not notice this until she pointed it out. They like played into it appropriately, but that did look like an alien from, like, I don't know, Independence Day or something. Now that she brought my attention to it.
It doesn't need to look realistic because realistic doesn't equal better. And today
Yes.
we'll not only complain about
100%.
adaptations like every other human being on Earth has already done, but actually go in
Some of my
and
favorites.
analyze the question I would annoy everyone with when I was a kid, and the doctor told my parents that I might be autistic, and they said that's not real, so then they never told me until my sister revealed it to me not that long ago.
Many such cases, Gabby. I feel you there.
Oh, and now a whole lot of things make a whole lot more sense, and I'm only finding out like kind of recently, and so are you. So we're gonna ask
Yeah.
why.
実写化することでガビベルのチャンネルをもっとよくできると思ったの。
Oh.
みんながあのバカな女ガビベルを好きにならないことを祈る。
What?
だって私はここにいるから。このバカ女の動画をもっと良くするためにもう一度出演すべきかどうか下のコメント欄で教えてください。バイバイ。
That,
Yu Yu
That
Hakusho
rude.
is a
very rude live action Japanese Gabi Belle. Not sure exactly who that character is, but she's coming after my girl, and that you don't talk about Gabi like that. That's for Gabi Belle fans to say about Gabi behind her back.
beloved 90s anime. And by the way, you don't have to have watched these animes I'll be talking about because I'll be explaining enough. I won't bore people who already saw the show also. We're gonna just watch.
The tism.
It follows Yusuke, who is obviously a middle schooler, as if there was any other option for a protagonist in the 90s for anime, who suddenly gets hit by a car and dies while
What?
trying to save a kid. At first, he
Oh,
thinks everyone's
okay.
probably glad that he's dead. After all, he was always a troublemaker who would skip class and get into fights. After seeing obviously that people care about him at his wake, and meeting Botan, the silliest Grim Reaper you will ever see, and the Prince of the Spirit World, Koenma, who is actually a baby with a pacifier, he gets a second chance at life because Koenma sees something in him, and Yusuke starts working as the new spirit detective, fighting and catching demons that have slipped through the cracks into the human world.
Wow, it kind of like starts where Mark Twain got Huck Finn to, and then it goes from there. Like guy hears his own funeral and reflects on his life, or his own eulogy, I should say.
The show...
Wait, was he tugging that guy's balls? Was he tugging that little demon's balls? Looked like he was tugging the balls.
On the surface, would want you to believe that this show is about fighting and action, and there is a lot of it. But honestly, it's a show that's heavy on exploring these intricate relationships and how they evolve as Yusuke grows into himself. Like with Genkai, a respected authority figure who's also snarky and stubborn just like Yusuke. With Toguro, one of Yusuke's main adversaries in the show, who is so fucking cool looking. On the surface, this is his...
That would be horrific. If she's going to cut to live action, and that guy, that would be the grossest bodybuilder, like, Mr. Universe champion, the most dehydrated man in the world.
Big fighting rival, but actually has a really cool and interesting backstory and a unique relationship with Yusuke that it isn't quite spelled out for us. And of course, his friendship with Kuwabara, his rival, become best friends who motivate each other to get stronger and stronger. There's also Kurama and Hiei, who have their own interesting backstories that get revealed piece by piece to us throughout the show. With all the adaptations we'll be dissecting today, there's this really big common...
The 3 out of the 4, or 4 out of 5 of those are considered, like, okay, well, actually, I don't know about Yu Yu Hakusho live action adaptation, but Dragon Ball Evolution, Cowboy Bebop, and Death Note are considered 3 of the worst of all time. So she's not really giving them a fighting chance. One Piece could come in and actually be, stand in as like this at least almost works, or it's the closest thing to working. But, if this is the closest thing to working, then what's the point? But we'll see.
I thought of between watching all of them over the years and rewatching for this video. You literally cannot make a direct remake without expecting it to be relentlessly dissected and compared to the original, which is obvious, but my point is you now have a choice of what you're going to make different about the remake and what the point of making it even is. Who is this for? That question dictates everything and is also a question I had constantly throughout watching all of this.
Oh,
is
God.
it for people who are already enchanted by the original?
It should be for, I mean, in my opinion, it should be for people who haven't experienced the anime and who want, maybe would avoid the anime because they don't care for animation. If you're going to make a live action adaptation, it's either for that or for fans. I guess that's like the lowest common denominator version of it. It's like, you don't like anime, but we believe that this is a culturally important enough story for you to give you the experience of jumping on board. Like, it's so culturally important. It being animated should not be a deterrent from you seeing the story and experience the story for yourself. That would be like One Piece. Maybe Dragon Ball in its like heyday, Dragon Ball Evolution. But the other side, the only other thing I could think, and this is more like what the Pokemon, Detective Pikachu, whether you like it or not, like, we disagree, but it would be like, do you want to see these ridiculous things happen in like with one step closer to reality by making it like this live action CGI, a spectacular? At that point, it's like more of a, what is it? Like, I keep wanting to use the word extravaganza, a spectacle, I think is probably the best word, and you're just going in that one, you're going for fans who just are like, that's almost more like, can they do it? Do they succeed? And ironically enough, I think the thing that comes closest to succeeding in terms of turning it into live action from something close enough to animation to count is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So just my 2 cents. But that, yeah, Gabby, that's my answer to your question. Let's see if that was rhetorical and you actually have an answer for me.
Original source material? Is it for people who aren't familiar with the property to watch the show for the first time? Is it supposed to replace the original, or is it supposed to enchant you into the world and maybe make you go check out the anime later? Another
Make beep.
recurring theme is that whoever's responsible, seem to love to suck the life out of the show, from completely butchering the characters' personalities.
I swear, okay, I might have to take a little detour here. Who played Jill Valentine in the... Here. I need to know who this is. I am so sorry. Let's see. Cowboy Bebop live action cast. Like, yeah, the fact that Cowboy Bebop is still anime first, the movie second, then it says live. Jill, or if not Jill, Faye. I keep wanting to say Jill, but that's not. You're not going to show me who they played? Okay, I guess I'll go here. Sorry, you can tell I'm very enamored with this woman. Only heard the worst things about this. Danielle Venita. Very beautiful woman, known for Jurassic World. That's a shame. Plain, don't know. Jurassic World. So 2 Jurassic World movies are Jurassic. Yeah. She's going to be in The Accountant 2. That's cool. Power Within, Bang Bang, Royal Crackers, Plane, Tales of the Walking Dead. Did I know her from anything before, during, after? Robot Chicken? No. Seemed like a pretty big role for her to land. It's almost a shame that it, because she did that before she even did the Jurassic World. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Scratch my itch. Don't know what she's from, or don't know her from anything else particular.
To the charm and wonder of the world, to completely missing the point of the show. Also, just by like absolute coincidence, so many of the remakes we'll be talking about today are Netflix originals.
Because Netflix sucks. I am sorry. I will come out and say this time and time again. That Netflix is not worth the subscription money. Walk away. Just walk away. Watch YouTube. Listen to podcasts. Don't give Netflix your money. Or Disney for that matter.
Definitely, they don't have a reputation of this. They have gotten better, but we'll start our journey here. The vibe here is that Yusuke doesn't care about anything. And his face is so monotonous when in...
That's a middle schooler. We're talking like, what, 13, 14 at max? Sorry to say, those bags under the eyes, unless unless I am out of touch with how people age, that guy looks like he's at least 18, 19, and like he's a full-time like college student.
The original, he's expressive and angry. In this, he's stoic, looks 30, which
100%
doesn't work with the retelling of the same story. He's supposed to be temperamental and very snarky while having a strong moral compass.
Get out here, Hiei! I'm gonna kick your ass!
His first fight with Kuwabara, they don't show until the last final blows, which is like 2 seconds of screen time. But since he's so stoic and doesn't really move around a lot, I'm confused in how he fights, and I'm confused about the character with what seems like two meshing qualities. So he dies, and then there's a cut.
Whoa. Damn, like, you don't have to pan with it. Cut away, people. You don't have to see the body going under the car for us to know that it happened.
To explaining the demon world and the human world separation, which is something you're supposed to discover with the main character. Plus, he just, like, knows he's dead.
Huh?
Instead of freaking out in the original like a normal person would. Like, does he actually care about anything? Because in the original, you're supposed to make it believe like he doesn't really care, but he does care. You can see that he cares. He's passionate. The weird decision to make Yusuke extremely stoic only leaves us with a really underwhelming and unremarkable protagonist. It feels like they watched one episode and didn't really understand the point of the character and made him very one-dimensional. It's to the point where he seems so uninterested in Keiko, his main love interest, and not like he's picking on her because he likes her like in the original. There are really subtle things that are always missed in the characters. He should be running up against the glass at the hospital where he sees the kid who he saved. He should be flailing his arms at Kuwabara during their confrontation and getting up in his face and yelling. Him on the boat reacting to getting to meet Koenma. He should be leaning back and smirking and crossing his arms, not leaning back in wonder. I'm not saying this because different equals bad. I'm saying this because changing the character's personality in what seems like a subtle way fundamentally changes the goal of the character and the show in a way that is also entirely uninteresting. They're not changing the character out of purpose, but out of misunderstanding what this character actually is. Everyone's boring. Koenma's boring, Yusuke's boring, Botan's boring, Kuwabara's boring, Keiko's boring, and Botan, who is a blue-haired, pronoun-having, silly girl as the Grim Reaper, is supposed to be part of the comedy of the show. This is just totally ignored in the remake because it's super serious.
I believe in your culture they also call me the Grim Reaper.
Pretty girl like you? Please, you're no Grim Reaper.
Well, I'm not sure if I should take that as a compliment or an insult.
At that point, they could
Yeah, that's so much charm there. Like, especially for, a show that's aimed for kids, getting to, I don't know, getting some fun times with some eternal spirits. Yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely. I should state my bias. I am already on her side. All she's doing is preaching to the choir. I have seen Cosmonaut's video on similarly on the topic, but specifically about Cowboy Bebop, which she's going to get into here in a moment. But I have to let you know, like, she's already has a convert here.
have made Botan anyone. Might as well have made her Neo from Men in Black. It would have made more sense. Koenma, who is
Neo
second
should
in
be in
command
Men in
in the
Black.
spirit world, he's essentially the Jesus Christ of this universe. And he's literally a baby with a pacifier, and Yusuke laughs at him when they meet. But they made him act super serious.
Oh, no! You take the pacifier away from him at that point, that you're missing the point. Like, he looks like some, like, hot raver guy who has daddy's money to fall back into after, his first or second bad trip. Whew. Hello. Arr.
May I ask what the point of the pacifier is? They just never mention it. They never mention it. How?
Yeah.
Obviously, since this is a 5-episode remake of a 200-episode anime that wasn't filled with filler, they're going to leave a lot out and rearrange important moments of the show, which isn't necessarily bad, but will always follow up with, you're remaking this show with what purpose in mind? I'll bring it up later how the One Piece live action actually does this really well, I think. But here, is it to retell the same story that was told better in the original source material? Like, artistically, what is the point of remaking the source material but leaving the important moments and nuances out? Like, besides money, doing this only makes the end result of the fights and the meat of the show feel all the less deserving and underwhelming. It also makes it a really confusing watch for people who haven't seen the original show. Why the pacifier? Why the fuck do we care about this guy? If
Whoa.
she
What is up with movies and having third eye? Like this is technology they haven't figured out yet, is having a character with a third eye. I mean, if you saw Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which for the most part I like, but the third eye at the end is not good and kind of comes out of nowhere and is kind of unnecessary.
wasn't in the show, literally nothing would change. These guys are brothers? When was I
Whoa.
supposed to know that? So
Creepy little
again,
guy.
who is this for? They constantly reveal things before we're supposed to discover them, which also contributes to having no payoff for anything. They just randomly showed us EA's third eye, so there's no point in this bandana now because we're supposed to discover it with Yusuke in battle. Genkai is supposed to be a super powerful fighter that trains Yusuke, and Yusuke's supposed to laugh at her for being an old woman. And then she beats his ass and is very satisfying to watch, as Yusuke learns throughout the show.
We're not going to stop this until you don't move an inch. Now get up!
They're supposed to learn how to respect each other because they're both kind of assholes to each other. So she sees herself in him while he proves to her throughout the show that he's a worthy heir to her immense power. In this remake, she just gives up her greatest power to him after he shows the tiniest bit of determination for actually 10 seconds. And they just don't connect as characters at all.
マシな面になったじゃないか。そうか。
I'm back with a different sweater because I had lunch in between these takes and I got guacamole all over my sleeves.
Many such cases. Like, I've almost given up on wearing anything lighter than like maroon because I am just such a slob.
So it feels like remakes have a curse of turning a really fun property into something overly serious and lifeless for no reason, as if it has to be that way. Like the whole trend of movie colors, like in general, just looking so much more dull than they
Yeah, why is that?
used to. It's like that's the trend, but like it doesn't have to be that way. Why? For example,
It's like movies got less colorful and video games got more colorful, and they really should be meeting in the middle. I just need to make sure this is not. I don't think that's going to affect the record. They really should be meeting in the middle. I mean, like a lot of video games. I mean, it's good that they got away from the browns, the grays, the blacks, the darkness of like the 2000s through 2010s, but they might have overcorrected. And that's the thing. That's like, you know, it's for everything has its use cases.
in the original, there was this whole ordeal of trying to get Yusuke back into his original body that was nearly a miss. He barely makes it, and the episode is a lot of fun.
Keiko!
They ended up oversimplifying everything so much that they lost all of the nuances that tell you a lot about the characters. He just gets his body back so he can fight this guy. So when Yusuke, alive, reveals himself to Keiko and his mom again, I do really like this line that he says.
俺はお前の悪口ぐらいじゃ死なねえんだ。
But like the fun part is that in the original, Keiko gets to be a part of bringing Yusuke back, which lets us learn about her relationship with Yusuke, and her learning about the supernatural. But here it's like, oh no, they sad. Oh yay, they happy. Another example I like paying attention to is how these adaptations use the music. I know, what a big surprise. The music bitch is talking about music again. Honestly, in the remake of Cowboy Bebop, I really think they understood this aspect. We'll talk more about that show in a bit. But in Yu Yu, the music is pretty generic YouTube, no copyright, royalty-free action movie music.
Should look up that guy, Kevin MacLeod.
When the soundtrack of the original was really colorful and had instrumental cohesion. I just made that sound really fancy for no reason, but you get the idea. There's like motifs in the soundtrack, whether that be melodically or instrumentally.
Well, yeah, they're coming off of like, I mean, not to make myself sound too smart either, but I believe they would be coming out of the city pop era of Japanese music, like, you know, like the most popular music on the streets, which is amazing, on the charts, I should say. And that was an amazing era of music. I still, you know, if you haven't done yourself the favor, just type in right now over to the side, like, you know, open new tab, Japanese city pop compilation mix, whatever. Just go to any one of those and just listen. They are some of the, you know, you're just going to be, you know, they just fill in the right amount. They don't take up too much of your attention, but they don't like completely fade away. They're just beautiful. Like, could you just imagine being in Tokyo in the 80s and just, you know, just strutting down the street to those?
Hey! Where are you gonna take us?
To the spirit world.
To the what?
Anyway, it's like the only way to make a remake is if it's colorless and dull and super serious, which I think that's why people liked the One Piece remake so much, especially compared to all the other ones, because they undid those expectations of a super serious show. In Yu Yu, it's like we're supposed to know how much these characters mean to each other without them actually showing us. That being said, the action is definitely the best part of the show, but most of the screen time is spent fighting instead of making us understand why we care about the fighting in the first place.
Number one rule right there. She laid it out light as day. If you don't care about the people in the action scene means so much less. It's like you're putting all this time and money into nothing if you haven't established the stakes. And if you have established the stakes, you can, you know, you can have less good action and it still resonate. I have this whole thing where, you know, the stakes have been established. The thrill is on. This is more of a thriller scene. It's from The Wire near the end of season 1. I'll just say a character is walking up to another at night on the street, attempting to assassinate them. And the tension was so high, you could cut it with a knife when I first saw that scene, that I swear that it was so intricately shot. If you were to have me storyboard out the scene after seeing it the first time, I would have like laid out like 12 different shots that all happened in rapid succession. And then I went back and watched it, and I think I watched it by itself maybe a year or so later without watching everything leading up to it. And I swear it's like 3 shots. My brain was so invested, and so I was so at the edge of my seats that it created tension and excitement. It did the budget spending for the show. They had done everything so well that they didn't even need to show me all of those different like little intricate moments for me to have put them in there. And I think that is 100% the truth about like a really well made, you know, action scene. When you are invested in the characters, you will make up the moments in between. You will be at the edge of your seat and full of emotions.
So despite all I said, I didn't completely hate the remake, but I wish they made the show a bit funnier and leaned into it. It feels like they half committed to the comedy and just didn't commit at all to the music. Even though there were a couple bangers in there, there was no musical cohesion whatsoever. But you know what's worse than a disappointing adaptation? Having your personal information being collected and sold without your permission. While we've been discussing and complaining, if you will, data brokers have been quietly gathering your name, mine, address, mine, and other sensitive details, trading them
that
like
was my
Pokemon
name
cards and putting you at risk for identity theft, spam, and harassment. Unlike these adaptations we've been talking about, Incogni actually delivers on what it promises. It can and will actually take several days to even begin making a dent in removing your information from the dozens and dozens of people finder websites out there. I've tried, it sucks. Incogni automatically contacts data brokers and people finder websites to remove your personal information, and they keep you updated on every step of the way. Their family and friends plan even lets you protect up to 4 loved ones. Take back control of your digital privacy by visiting incogni.com and using code GATEKEEPER to get 60% off
Yay,
an
Gatekeepers!
annual subscription. What a deal. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, you can try it risk-free. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video, and now back to your regularly scheduled disappointments.
Oh.
After Yu Yu, I decided I needed a palate cleanser. And
Palate cleanser? I mean, I guess this is more like, you know, going back to the ancient texts. This is, from my understanding probably the first major American anime adaptation into live action. And if, correct me below if there's something else, but I have a feeling that whatever the other thing is probably going to be a little bit more obscure. This is definitely the first, trying to go big on it.
Decided to watch Dragon Ball Evolutions, obviously based on the Dragon Ball anime from the 90s. This movie, famous for this clip, was the world's first introduction to a live-action Dragon Ball in 2009, TE, Twilight era, between the first and second movie, of course.
Oh, I didn't think it was that late. I would have put it before the first Twilight. Oh, gosh.
Granted, there was no possible way to get Goku's hair right in real life. They just settled for Backstreet Boys. That'll do.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing is right in this movie. It's not like I'm gonna have anything groundbreaking to say about it, but I just wanted to include it because it's so funny. I had never seen it before until I watched it for this video. The plot is that
He's so
Piccolo
white.
Sr. wants the Dragon Balls, but I don't know why. Goku doesn't have a tail.
His pants are wrong too. It's just this is a bad cosplay of Goku.
Minus points for that. I don't care that he's a modern day 2009 layered t-shirt ass kid going to some California.
That's not Did this guy not know who Goku is? Goku is. That's the thing. It's all these protagonists are so much more goofy and upbeat, and every white boy who gets to play one, or I guess Asian boy as well, just instantly goes for that look right there. They get the Raphael on. They forget most anime protagonists are Michelangelo. Goku and Yu Hakusho, at least those two are for sure closer to Michelangelo's than they are to Raphael's. I mean, they do get somewhat serious, but they're more like Michelangelo with a Leonardo twist than anything else. At least that's my opinion.
A skater punk high school. He should have a tail. He's also more interested in just learning about girls the whole movie. Very Goku of him, I know. People who've seen the original, woo, Goku just loves girls. He's always talking about and being interested in girls. They not only make every female character in this movie have the biggest
Oh yeah. This movie at least got the budget.
push-up bra that 2009 could invent. They were working overtime, dude. The girls would be tired after being in that push-up bra all day. But they also forced sexual tension between these characters and Goku.
What happens after I light off 5 torches?
Then you'll be standing right next to me.
But they also force sexual tension between Goku and every Big Bazonga's character. Even with Bulma, who is solely a companion. It wouldn't even make sense to make comparisons to the original because they have nothing in common. It felt like they made the movie but refused to learn anything about the actual property. So if you do try to be faithful to the original, people aren't gonna like that if you butcher it or leave important stuff out. But on the other hand, if you try something new, it ends up as Dragon Ball Evolutions. Is there possibly an in-between? It genuinely feels like Power Rangers, but in a bad way. We also somehow go... That looked more like what the Power Ranger movie should look like. That's a really good point, especially the car scene. That, if you were to have it'd either be the Red Ranger or the Black Ranger probably doing the car scene and taunting somebody, that would be cool in a Power Rangers movie. Dragon Ball, Goku should, there should not be modern sedans in a Dragon Ball universe, period. They gotta look like something out of the 1930s meets Tesla. And then Goku is, that actor was older than Goku was ever depicted in the show, at least up through midway through Z. Up until the Frieza saga, that actor was older than Goku ever got to. From this California high school to a post-apocalyptic city and also a giant desert.
Oh, okay, at least those scenes look like Dragon Ball. Kinda.
Damn, Dune 3 looks crazy.
Ugh.
Dragon!
We end the movie on top of this mountain, and instead of wishing for his grandpa back from the dead, he wishes for Master Roshi to come back, who I swear looks like George Lopez. I know they're not even the same race, but I swear to God, I just can't.
As a white guy, I probably shouldn't say it, but Asian, Mexican, very close. A lot of overlap.
I'm thinking it, especially in this outfit. It could be George Lopez. As unintentionally funny this movie is, I feel like Adaptations always mix up arcs and moments of a show and do things out of order without considering why those arcs and moments happened when they happened in the first place. It's basically just for us to go like, I remember when that happened in the show. The relationships are obviously so rushed because you're trying to fit 200 episodes worth of story into a shortened show or movie, which is again like, what is the purpose of this adaptation? Unfortunately, even if the live action is good, a lot of people are going to come into it wanting to hate it, and are also just going to hate it because it's not the original. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. In the case of Cowboy Bebop and its remake, I can definitely see why people didn't like it. But this got me wondering then, can any remake or retelling of the same story ever be good then? Yes, they can, I think. Full Metal Alchemist got an animated remake called
Oh, yeah. Well, it was like a reimagination, wasn't it?
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, that the community largely says is a better retelling of at least the manga. But a lot of people like both. Some of the Death Note live actions aren't bad. There's more than the 2017 Netflix live action.
Would you call me?
That was 2017. Oh my God. What is that? So nearly 7 years old, 8 years old? Oh God. Time. It just goes through your palm. Really, it's what Ferris Bueller says. If you don't stop and smell the roses, you might just miss it.
I even remember liking the 2015 Death Note TV drama, while enjoying the creative liberties they took in parts that weren't exactly one-to-one with the original. Because I don't dislike adaptations just because they're different. The problem is that if they don't hold up on their own and rely on you having seen the original, then what was the point? Cowboy Bebop is a beloved anime that ran from...
Just so y'all know, context yet again, I am rewatching this with my new girlfriend. She suggested it, and I realized I had never seen Cowboy Bebop from episode 1 through episode 24. I watched it on Adult Swim a long time ago, and I would see it sporadically. I probably haven't even seen every episode. In fact, I know I haven't seen every episode because there's a few that we've already come across that I was like, oh, I guess I missed this one. Ooh, that's pretty important.
1998 to 99 that follows a couple of ragtag bounty hunters in space struggling to make ends meet with an iconic soundtrack.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
This is Spike, this is Jet, and we also meet Faye Valentine, Ein, and Ed. The show is largely episodic, but still progresses in the background. You don't learn a lot about these characters. You're never directly told a lot about these characters. The show is largely about inferring things about them. This is a character-driven show that remains extremely ambiguous. And if you're a fan of the show, you know that the ambiguity is one of the really special things about it, and is a big reason people are drawn to it. It's a very melancholic show, which means when adapting it for Western audiences, we need to make this show as black and white as possible. Gray? What the fuck is that? Fuck you. Jet's a divorced dad who needs money to buy his daughter a doll and visit the suburbs to...
That is a clash. That dude standing in the suburbs just does not compute.
Dispute relationship problems. Spike has a past he's trying to hide from Jet. And there's a main bad guy. Also, the main villain in the original is someone we don't know a lot about or know exactly what happened between him and Spike. Vicious is his name. And we only see him vaguely in memories and only in like the last couple episodes of the show. He's supposed to be that way. In the remake, they made him like Spike's direct rival who stole his girl and has this like man-child arc. He loses all mystique. This is Vicious. You don't know a lot about him, but he's scary. In the remake, he's essentially Lord Farquaad.
Bad, not good. Yeah, everybody, look. there's a word I want to use, but I should probably not. But a lot of people here, one of my big opinions, and this is strings across, entertainment, politics, philosophy, daily life, diet. It's not good to give people what they want. What they say they want, it's not the good thing to give to them. You got to figure out what they need, and you build from there. And what people tend to say they want is, oh man, isn't that character so badass? That'd be so cool if we saw more of them. Not realizing the reason the character was a badass was because you didn't see enough of them. You want less. I will hopefully be able to elucidate that more. I think it's going to be a driving point, but essentially, I don't believe you should get what you want. I think you should have to work to get something that you deserve, that sort of thing. And especially here in this adaptation, I had heard tale, but I did not realize it was that bad, that they had turned him into essentially another main character. And it's like, no, he's the villain in the Waiting in the Wings, the mystery, the basically the foil to Spike, and the more you know about him, the worse he serves that purpose.
Both appearance and personality. Before we get too into it though, I do want to say, visually, it looks great. The sets and the outfits too didn't feel unnatural or jarring in the world like you did. I like John Cho as an actor. I think Spike was a really difficult cast, and I was happy to see him in more stuff. I like him. They actually got him to mostly feel like Spike with the way he walks and fights. I really like that they leaned into some of the humor and the kookiness in the fights, which was a really enjoyable watch. I also really enjoy the music. They stuck with the vibe of the show, which has some of the most iconic music in anime history. So I'm really glad that they also seemed to understand the important role of music in this show.
I got him! Go!
It wouldn't have been a surprise if Netflix just nixed the entire soundtrack. That's why I'm saying it. Unfortunately though, they kind of missed the point of the show, which seems to be a common trope for live action remakes.
Yep.
They kind of ended up framing it as this buddy cop show when the
Interesting. I mean, I could see them making that mistake or wanting to make that change. So I'm not holding that broad concept against them, even though it ultimately becomes like a quintet. But I mean, Spike, Jet as buddy cop, I can see how they went there. A common criticism that people have when they're criticizing modern writing, the modern writer, adaptations and such, especially adaptations, is the writer comes in, or the people who are running the show come in, and they decide that they want to make it their own. They want to put their own spin on it. They want to, The Witcher is an example of this that I know off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's other examples that are out there, but that often is the thing that you hear behind the scenes. Oh, The Acolyte, Star Wars The Acolyte was another big example of this, where the people came in and wanted to make Star Wars their own thing, or wanted to redefine Star Wars as their own thing. And that ends up in those situations just feeling like the writers are just looking for excuse, looking for their opportunity to say, tell you what they want to tell you, to tell the story that they think it needs to be told, even if it means using a beloved franchise as the vehicle for it. So that's what I would have assumed was the first problem with this. But maybe it was a different problem. Maybe it was that they just were too loyal to the source material and couldn't find their own way in.
The original explores more complicated situations when they're out bounty hunting. Nothing about the original was so black and white like it is in the remake. And I feel like that really costed them why people liked the show in the first place. This is such a huge thing that adaptations keep missing. For example, our main characters in the anime were left wondering who in this universe is actually good and bad. Their motivations for bounty hunting aren't because they're heroes with high honor. They're morally gray individuals that need money, where they meet a variety of characters that aren't what they seem, and some that are complex people in bad situations. It's what happens when you push people to the edges of society. This Faye Valentine is a tragic femme fatale.
戦いの基本を知ってる？先制攻撃よ。
This Faye Valentine has a poster on her wall that says "Keep calm and carry on." And
Damn. You don't have to do her like that. Gabi, please stop. This show's already dead.
Acts like a bratty 15-year-old.
Yeah, you can kindly fuck off.
Actually, when this came out in 2021, I gave it a shot and I just couldn't watch past the first episode because I just couldn't handle what they did to Faye.
Wait, that's a problem. Faye shouldn't be in the first episode. Faye, you gotta at least give like Spike and Jet an episode before they meet Faye.
Meet Faye Valentine.
Hey, fuck you.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. We got it the wrong place.
That is awful. I'm sorry to that actress. I know she was directed. She had the line. She had to perform the scene. I'm apologizing for her. She's so hot. I can't believe that she would be that bad on her own. But yeah, that was not Faye. That was so bratty. Like Faye is she's much more poetic. She's like a little, I think at one point she claims to be a gypsy, or that's her heritage, Romani, but she says it, at least that's what the subtitle said. I mean, that's like much more like, kind of that magical, mystical wisping in the wind, but also, using that as a facade to hide your bad habits of gambling and other things.
This Jet Black is an ex-cop who wakes up every day knowing he can't control the world around him, but wants to try and do good. He's someone who looks back fondly on times, but knows they're gone. I find him difficult to explain because he's so complex and real. This Jet Black is a stereotypical ex-cop divorced dad who could only talk about getting a doll for his daughter an entire episode that are an hour long.
Come on.
My daughter's turning 8, and I can't afford to buy her a present because of you. I can't afford a goddamn walking Sally doll. You got the doll?
This, and with the ongoing Spike and Vicious rivalry, this is what I mean about it feeling so black and white. It kind of ends up feeling like a buddy cop show. For side character episode arcs, they changed this character who was just trying to find a better life on Mars, but had never been there. Kind of this tragic false hope story, yearning for a better life somewhere you've never seen, and also just in a terrible circumstance in the first place.
Planning to escape to Mars, huh? Go ahead and run. How far do you think you'll get?
And instead, they made her some runaway daughter of some rich guy dating a psycho.
Everyone has your dad. Rich, powerful, total dick. Get over it and move.
There's really not much mystery or complexity in feeling bad for these characters.
Ever been to Mars?
I was born on Mars.
I hear they have everything there. Not like here. It must be a great place to live.
Sure, if you're rich.
Have you
New York City.
ever been to Mars?
I was born there.
I haven't been since I was a little girl, but I remember it was beautiful, a good place to start.
What is that accent? Jeez, I really feel like they missed the romanticism of this character. Like I feel like I know what they're going for, and it's wrong.
A new life.
It's never too late to start a new life.
Which is really interesting because
Also, I do like John Cho as an actor, and I think he probably did his best work, but I think he was a little too old to play Spike at the time. I unfortunately hate to say it, but I don't think Spike is that old. I mean, he's like kind of like in his early 30s at worst, and John Cho's definitely reading as like a 40-something. It's like you kind of need that guy who really thinks that he could go back to the old life.
Netflix had an hour of runtime to explain this arc and did it so much more poorly than the 20-minute anime. It's just disappointing that they changed certain things that didn't need to be changed. The story you chose to tell was already written for you in the original episode, and it didn't feel like these changes added any new perspective or had a real purpose.
I mean, that should have been the red flag number one. A Cowboy Bebop is a pop show. Like 20 to 30 minutes and a story is what it needs. We're not talking Murder, She Wrote here. You're not like peeling back layers of an onion of a case. The cases are pretty straightforward. They're meant to get like, Spike gets undercover a little bit. He goes looking, goes searching, he finds the guy, they chase, he misses him. He has to go and find another way of getting to the guy. He chases, he catches him, something tragic happens. It's like, it's a pretty tried and true formula for the case. It has, I don't know, you don't have to be that formulaic, but the show should probably be following along in the footsteps of the formula. And let's say, like I would have said, if you were to take a hour-long chunk and divide it into being 2 adaptations of 2 Bebop episodes, maybe. All right.
Something all these adaptations miss is the point of the show they're making.
Yeah.
Making the show almost end up like a parody of what they think people liked about the original. Yu Yu Hakusho, everyone only likes that show for the action. It's like they misunderstood the show and made a caricature of generic action anime.
Oh, no, buddy, no. That looks like something out of what is that show? Attack on Titan. Like that's like just they didn't do it. And they gave him the same head? They just put his head on there?
Cowboy Bebop, people liked it for the vibes and like fighting bad guys, right guys? It's like when they translate stuff for Western audiences, they think they need a clear good guy and a clear bad guy, or else people won't get it. But the people who already like Bebop like that about the show. It's like they're trying to remake it for general audiences to get into the anime, but it's just a confusing who is this for? I understand why they would want to flesh out Vicious as a villain, but I think it comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of the show. As far as adaptations go though, this is still fun to watch in my opinion. I think it's on the right track, especially compared to most of them. Which reminds me, I really want to buy the Spike skin that just came out in Fortnite, so please enjoy this tax write-off.
All right. Yeah, I want that animation. I can't wait. Oh yeah. It's a good skin. Oh. Ooh. That makes a lot of sense. Spike, I mean, that actually, I don't know if Spike ever used a baseball bat, but it makes sense. Okay. Spike doing Zoomer dances. I saw it all.
I would love to now segue this into Death Note's live action, but to me this very much falls under the same tier as Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah.
I guess in short, Light finds book called Death Note. You write name in book, that person dies 40 seconds later by a heart attack unless otherwise specified. The show's a noir detective-inspired mystery psychological thriller. Something that would be a slam dunk out of every anime to adapt. This one would be very doable. But
I mean, yeah, just give it like the 7 treatment or something, you know. I mean, at worst, at best, the 7 treatment? I don't know. Like, you give it the David Fincher look. Make it all green. Make it all green and gritty and moody, and like, yeah, those flashlights with the high beams, so when you go into a dark place, you can see the light the entire way through. That's what you do.
it's just so bad. It also has nothing in common with the original besides Ryuk, the god of death that follows around the person who has the Death Note. Light and Elle, who is the detective that's trying to catch him, are supposed to be some of the smartest people on Earth, constantly trying to outsmart each
What is going on with this was pre-COVID. Why is he covering half his face? It's really, I mean, I could see if the costume designer was going for something. There is something like he practically disappears except for his eyes and his like forehead. But I mean, at that point, like, why is his hairline showing actually is maybe the question I should be asking. If you're going to cover that much of your face, why are you showing this portion? It should just be like this.
other and play mind games. In this movie, they make them both be the dumbest pieces of shit. Light and Elle are supposed to be chronic overthinkers. Here, they're just chronically stupid, and it all comes down to that.
You're the one who flew into the sun. I'm just here to make sure you actually burn.
I would just watch this video on it, to be honest. Like, genuinely, everything is wrong with this movie. Characters, plot, writing, like, I don't even know where to begin or end. I'd just recommend to explore the Japanese live actions of Death Note, if you can find anywhere on the internet, that is. There's a few movies from 2006 to 2008 that I've seen, and there's a 2015 live-action TV drama, and in these, they're much more faithful to the original characters.
Yeah, that looks great.
Creative liberties.
I mean, yes, does it look weird? But that, I mean, that can work. Weird can work. They leaned into it. He looks like he's out of a PlayStation, like, 2 cutscene.
where they see fit, that for the most part work. At least way better than the 2017 Netflix adaptation.
Hey, don't touch her!
And didn't just like go out of their way to piss people off.
I suggest you back the fuck.
Which brings me to the One Piece live action
Okay, cool.
that didn't do that.
Finally, some good fucking food.
I thought
Hell
I could
yeah.
go off with a show I liked. One Piece is a pirate anime. They're trying to find the One Piece. Why am I explaining this to you? I've seen.
Wait. I don't know what One Piece is about. You can explain it to me. I'll listen. We only have 4 minutes left of the video. I wouldn't mind if there was 40 minutes left of the video. Come on, Gabi. But say your name. You're a gabber. Yapping Gabi. Gabi the Gabber.
Some of the One Piece anime, but I haven't watched all of it because I value my time.
Yes. Yes, this is probably the most reasonable reason to remake an anime. Like, I'm not saying you have to do it live action, but one of the most reasonable reasons to remake an anime is the anime had a lot of filler, and we're going to cut down on that filler. We're going to look back and realize where we can condense the story so we're not making something that goes on forever and ever and ever.
Time, and I'm not a nerd. Okay? You came to this video thinking I was a nerd.
Yeah.
You're wrong. We have Luffy, Nami, Zoro, Usopp, and Sanji in season 1 of the live action. I love the casting for all these characters, but especially Zoro and Luffy. I couldn't have imagined a better Luffy. Okay, I love this guy. The energy Iñaki brings to the table is so perfect for Luffy. I can't really put into words why, but sometimes it's about the vibe, and the vibe is correct. I also think the things the live action did differently than the anime actually worked really well for a cathartic release that didn't feel unnatural to anyone's character. When Nami's trying to rip out her tattoo, that's this big emotional moment. Luffy finds her and stops her, resulting in Nami at the end of her rope emotionally asking for Luffy to help her. This scene happens in the same way in the original, but in the remake it still has the same deservingness and hits emotionally the way it should. It feels earned like in the original. Plus, the actors did a phenomenal job in this scene.
Also, I want to say they light night. They put light up at night. Thank you. All this, like, oh, if it was night, where would the light be coming from? Yeah, and where's the music coming from, motherfucker? Yeah, Jesus Christ. This looks great. I could see her. I could see her emote. I am invested. It doesn't matter if it's not realistic.
Even though fundamentally, they changed things surrounding Nami's arc in the remake. Like how the village she's from in the anime, the townspeople pretend to hate her so she'll stop working to try and save them, but they care about her a lot. In the remake, they actually just made the village hate her, and sure, this took away some of the emotional depth of the village and the villagers, but to me, the end result still worked really well, and was still just as gut-wrenching knowing Nami didn't want to betray them. I still think this works for different reasons, as they definitely had to, again, change some things around in order for the story to work with pacing and time.
Is that Secret Robert Pattinson? I know it's not, but at the same time, if you were to tell me this is knockoff, like, go find this guy. If you want Robert Pattinson in your movie, find this guy. It's a Pepsi version right here.
They did a great
less Pepsi, more like store brand version.
Great job of letting the characters stay in character while adding new perspectives to this scene. What I'm trying to prove is that different doesn't equal bad. I know I've drilled that into your heads already. And that adapting a very beloved franchise can be so tough and touchy, but it can be done. And by Netflix of all things. I told you we were close with Cowboy Bebop. And to be optimistic here, Netflix adaptations so far have gone from absolutely atrocious
Forget it.
Did you cuss a little? To something that a lot of the fan base actually really likes. This One Piece remake is also a show that absolutely stands on its own. You don't need to have watched One Piece to understand what's going on. I know there's a ton of people out there who were introduced to One Piece from the remake. And the purpose of this also serves to not have to watch 1,000 episodes of One Piece to prove your loyalty to the One Piece overlords. So, who is this for? It's for fans and newcomers, telling the same story with some creative liberties that fundamentally don't change the original property to the point beyond recognition. Especially
Yay!
if part of the intent was to make someone a One Piece fan and go check out the anime. If you go check it out and it's nothing like the live action in a way that you wouldn't like one or the other, I just don't really see the point. I could be narrow-minded here though. I know there are a lot of adaptations I didn't cover in this video, so instead of getting angry and screaming at me, you should subscribe to force me to make more videos. Oh no, please don't subscribe. I would hate that. It would be so terrible to make another video about something that mildly bothers me when I think about it for too long. Bye.
How do you end a YouTube video? I think this is going to be a great example I use. I should play Fortnite. They knew what they were doing. Like, they introduced enough characters into Fortnite where this doesn't look sacrilegious to me. This just looks like fun. Well, wasn't that something? I really got to watch that One Piece anime adaptation now. Thank you so much for watching. Always appreciated. If you have the time, please stop, like, and subscribe. Would love to see this channel's number of subscribers get into triple digits. I think it's going to happen really soon. But otherwise, what else do I have to tell you? Oh, yeah. One more thing, Vincenters. Enjoy yourself.